Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. Excuse my language, but I'm currently a little bit sick, but I'm trying to tough it out and get some videos out here for you guys. And this one is going to be the 2023 top 10s, the On the Bubble video. So before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So the On the Bubble is a new thing, part of the top 10s, where I talk about the fighters that are on the bubble of busting into the top 10 or busting back into the top 10. Mostly they're guys that are ranked highly in the governing bodies, but there's a couple other people. First off, let me start with former. Let me start off with former world title challenger Ronnie Rios. Rios can get back in if he just comes in and gets active. Rios is a good veteran that's been there, done that, and if he can just get himself active, then he can get back into the top 10 pretty quickly, because it doesn't seem to be too difficult because this division is not super deep. Then there's also on the bubble is Aaron Alameda, former world title challenger, has only lost to Angelo Leo and in a tough close fight, and to Luis Neri in a tough fight. So I think he's another fighter that can get in at any moment, can get into the top 10. We'll see. Now we look at the guys that are ranked highly. We start with a guy named David Picasso, undefeated Mexican fighter. He's currently the WBC's #2 contender. It doesn't really mean much, though, because the WBC has a mandatory challenger in Luis Neri, who is likely going to be fighting Naoya anyway in his next bout. But what Picasso can do is shore up the next mandatory. He can, by the middle to the end of the year, can shore up that next mandatory and make a name for himself. And who knows, if Inoue decides to move up to 126 at some point during the year, at the end of the year, David Picasso can find himself fighting for a world title, or even fighting in an eliminator to become #1 contender. So he's on the bubble. Then there's John Riel Casimero, former world champ, who's been there, done that. He's currently #3 in the WBO right now. He's he's got something to prove. The WBO doesn't seem to have a for sure mandatory right now. Sam Goodman is the undefeated #1 contender, but I could see Casimero fighting to become the mandatory #1 challenger and trying to get a shot at Inoue before he moves up. So we'll see. Then there's a guy named Olin Duhan, which I wasn't even able to find a record on this guy. He's currently #3 in the WBA, though. Again, unless he's going under a different alias, Boxrec.com didn't have anything on Duhan, or whatever his name is. So interested in seeing what happens there. Then there's Shabazz Massoud, who is a fighter from the United Kingdom. He's undefeated. He's 12-0. He's currently #4 in the IBF. Now, the IBF currently has a mandatory challenger in Sam Goodman, but if Goodman were to get the shot at the title later in the year against Inoue, then for the undisputed title, then Massoud could be fighting for the vacant, in an eliminator to determine the next challenger. So Massoud is right there knocking on the door as long as he stays winning. Then there's a Filipino fighter named Carlos James Martin. He's also, he's from the Philippines, as I said. He's actually currently #4 in the IBF, not the other guy. So he's going to be fighting, he can move himself into title contention in the same capacity. So we'll see. Then there's former world champion TJ Doheny, who was the IBF champion. He's lost 4 of his last 8 bouts, but he's still banging around and in contention. He lost to Sam Goodman this year, but he's a guy that can get fights and he's currently the WBO's number 4 contender. So I could see him trying to get into some kind of an eliminator against maybe one of these undefeated younger fighters to try to push himself back in to the top 10 and get in there. And he's only lost to good fighters. He lost to Michael Conlon. He's lost to TJ Doheny. He's lost to Daniel Rahman when he lost his title back in the day. And shit, I can't remember the other guy that he lost to. Oh, it was Ionut Baluta, who's still a top 10 guy. So Doheny has made some noise, and he could continue to do so. And then finally, there's a Mexican fighter named Israel Picazo, who is an undefeated fighter. Or no, he's actually 30-5, but he's only 25 years old. He has been in the ring with Eduardo Baez. That was his last loss. He also lost to Mauricio Lara years ago. It looks like he's a fighter that lost a lot of fights early in his career, but he hasn't lost a fight at all, and he's won a bunch in a row since 2019. He's currently the WBA's number 5 contender, so he could find himself potentially competing in an eliminator of some sort to get into the mix before the end of the year. So it's not a guarantee that any of these guys will end up in the top 10, but they're highly rated at the end of the year, according to the governing bodies, and they can knock on the door and potentially grab a spot. So we'll see what happens, but that's it. That's what I got. That's my 2023 top 10s for the 122-pound super bantamweight division. This was the on the bubble, the guys that are on the edge of busting into the top 10 in 2024. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.